Hello and welcome. This is Matthias 76. We are here with our nightly Decoding the Deception broadcast. Really excited about what we have for you here this evening. Got some interesting things to talk about. I have put in, let's just go here. I had said last time that I would talk about why I use the moniker for the YouTube channel, BitChute, all of that, of Matthias 76. When I started this, all the people that I listened to, all the people that were out there that were an influence on me, they all had a name, some kind of name with a number at the end. And so I just landed on Matthias 76, and I want to tell you why I chose Matthias. It's always fascinated me in the book of Acts after Judas had died, had gone away, and there was a vacancy with the disciples. In Acts 1:21 through 24, we read this. So one of the men who have accompanied us during all the time that the Lord Jesus went in and out among us, beginning from the baptism of John until the day when he was taken up from us. One of these men must become with us a witness to his resurrection. And they put forward two, Joseph, called Barsabbas, who was also called Justus, and Matthias. And they prayed and said, "You, Lord, who know the hearts of all, show which one of these two you have chosen to take the place in this ministry and apostleship from which Judas turned aside to go to his own place." And they cast lots for them, and the lot fell on Matthias, and he was numbered with the 11 apostles. So Matthias, he's an apostle, he's a disciple, he's an important guy, okay? But at the same time, this is the only thing that the New Testament tells us about him. It's just a name, and I'm sure he was a faithful guy. I'm sure he went and did the work of an apostle, but he was definitely number 12 in the listing of the apostles. So I thought, if I'm going to be out here on YouTube, and it was just YouTube at the time, if I'm going to be out here on YouTube teaching the Word of God and putting stuff out there, I'll use a Bible name, but I'll go with Matthias because basically he's a faithful guy, but he was a nobody. So that was kind of my convoluted thinking on why I landed on Matthias 76. And I'll go ahead and tell you, the 76, when I first got an email way back when it was, what was it? Everybody had the same email back in the day. I can't remember what it was. But at the end of it, in order to get it to work, I had to put a number because the names were already taken that I was going to use. And I used number 76. And my wife asked me, "Why did you use number 76? And I told her the truth. Well, in high school, and at that time it wasn't nearly as long ago as it is now, but in high school, that was my football number. And I know I'll always remember it. And her response to that was, "That's just sad." But anyway, that's why the 76, and that is why the Matthias choice for the YouTube moniker. And I see Anita is out there again. Great to have you. Deborah, great to have you here. And if you are out there, go ahead and sound off in the chat if you choose and say hello. A big part of why we're doing this is to build community. I think that that's an important thing. I think many of us feel somewhat isolated, even among our church group, whatever it might be, oftentimes family. We feel isolated because of the views that we have, the things that we have seen and know to be true. You can feel like the odd person out. So I think this community can be something special for us. So where I want to start tonight, I got a couple different things that I want to look at. And I'll say, finding the things to talk about is never the problem. It's never the problem. There are always interesting stories in the news that we can look at and think about, and there are things for us to learn there. Now, this story, it's a very brief story, and I will afterwards put the link to these, in as many of them as I can, in the description so that you can have those. I guess I can do this for those who want to look at it. I can post it. Oh, we'll catch on to this whole chat thing. We will. This whole live stream thing. We'll get it figured out. And again, for anybody who's new, first time, I have been doing videos on YouTube for 4 years, 1 month, and a couple weeks. But I'm new to the live stream thing, so I'm still figuring some things out and trying to find my way. So I put the link to the article that I just, hopefully it comes through as a link in the chat and you can click on it. But this is the article I wanted to look at it. And this is from the Rare Foundation. Rare Foundation, I don't know a whole lot about them. I know that I consistently would see good, solid information coming from them. And the way I operate, just so you know, and maybe I'll just tell a little bit of a story here since we're getting to know one another. And some of you I know have been watching my videos for quite some time. There are people out there been with me the whole time on YouTube. And as far as how I got started down this road, I've been a believer all my life, but I was ignorant of the conspiracy things. I wasn't ignorant of them. I thought they were nonsense. And I just didn't pay any attention to them. I associated them with my Uncle Jesse, who was a member of the John Birch Society, which I just thought was wacky and way out there. And I didn't pay any attention to it. And my 2 oldest sons kept talking to me because they saw things and they looked at things in a different light. And honestly, I thought, oh my goodness, my boys are kooks. They believe this stuff. And so when I started to look into this, I did it for the sake of debunking it, because they would tell me things, especially my one son. He's like me, and he just wouldn't stop. He just kept pecking away. And so I started to look into things so that I could show him that it was nonsense, okay? And so I came across a few resources. They are out on my, in my knowledge bases, document knowledge base. And if you're not familiar with that, I just went to it here on the website, document knowledge base, and I've got these different categories of documents. And you see here in New World Order, I've got all these different headings, all these different things. I try to add things to it from time to time, but I'm just going to type Griffin. And when I do that, it will pop up. No, it's not there. Let's see. Now I'm talking about how to use it, and I got to find it. Here it is. Collectivism, the future is calling. I found these documents, and I started to, and you can go here, you can pull this up. The whole thing is right there in a PDF. You can search it, you can blow it up, you can download it to read it on your own computer in a more friendly format. But I started to read this. And as I read it, what I did was I looked at every single footnote and I went and checked the source. And G. Edward Griffin is a giant among people in the conspiracy, and I'll use the word because it's what everybody uses, the conspiracy community. He is a brilliant man, a wonderful author, and just a good guy, but very thorough and very good at presenting information. So I read this 4-part PDF, The Future is Calling, and I read every single footnote. And then I went and read his book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. And here also in resources, you go to reading, you go to secular conspiracy, and here you don't have to scroll down very far, and you're going to find The Creature from Jekyll Island. I read that. It's a massive book, tons of information. life-changing as far as what all it has. And again, footnotes. And I checked them all. I checked the resources. And the one thing that kept coming up that was just because I'm just talking about my journey here, it was my conspiracy pet peeve. And that was this nonsensical, as I believed it to be, notion that FDR knew that the Japanese were going to bomb Pearl Harbor. That was just, it infuriated me. And so I went and read the book, and here it is, Day of Deceit. If you click on the name over here, it's going to take you to Amazon, where you can buy a copy of Day of Deceit. And this guy, Robert Stinnett, footnoted everything, had the documents, the government documents that he got through the Freedom of Information Act that made it clear that not only did FDR know, they provoked the attack and then made sure that Pearl Harbor was wide open to invasion. And the facts are undeniable, and no serious historians dispute it. And there was an amazing thing that happened once I read that book. And these things, the only thing I can compare this awakening process to, and many of you out there might identify with it, and it'll resonate with you. I had to go overseas, didn't have to go overseas. I wanted to go overseas, went overseas as a missionary, and I had to learn Spanish. Learning a different language, living in the culture as an adult, learning a different language is exhausting. You have to think about everything you say and how to say it and all of those things. Okay? So, in reading these books, and it was telling me that everything that I had known was wrong and I had to rethink everything. It was exhausting. But then I was in, because I realized if they will lie to me about this, what else have they lied to me about? I know that's not good grammar. About what else had they lied to me? And so I started digging. And all of these books here and more on the page, I have read and studied and checked the resources. And from time to time, I will bring them up and point you to them, because reading is good. And this sounds silly. I say it in my videos all the time. But reading engages your brain in a way that is different than watching things on video. We do everything. Here's a guy who makes videos telling you read books, but you should. You should read books. It makes you think differently. Okay? So get some of these books. It's easy to get them. They're all available on Amazon. If you want to start with one that's probably the best place to start, it's this one right here, Truth is a Lonely Warrior by James Perloff. But I have vetted these people. And once you've vetted them and you've read lots of their stuff, it's almost like they become a trusted neighbor. And if they say something, you're going to look at it. Okay? There's a level of reliability there. So I took you on a journey of my journey, a discussion of my journey, but I did that because what I said there applies as well to these websites that are on my helpful websites page. The ones that I'm going to all the time, frankly, there's one or two I'm going to take off here. I won't tell you which ones they are. They'll just be. But the expose, James Perloff, Mercola, Rare Foundation. I've read their stuff regularly, and there's good information. Now, I am in saying that not vouching for every single thing these people say, okay? Because I always say, check it for yourself, vet it. I like the things with the expose, they'll put the documents in there directly. The one thing we talked about last night, and I can't even remember, it was something about the COVID-19 stuff. Once I move on to something else in a new program, I have a hard time remembering what it was. But the stuff that we did last night, the article that I related from the expose, they've got the documents in there that they're citing, the government documents, okay? You can go and check it out for yourself. Always verify the information that you're getting, whether it's from me, whether it is from Anyone. And I see up there in the notes Anita saying Birch Society is tops. I agree. G. Edward Griffin was, for the main part of his career, he's an older gentleman now, he's in his 80s, but he was the spokesperson, the voice for the John Birch Society. Okay, I read stuff from the John Birch Society. I think that they put out some really, really good stuff. But again, I encourage you, use this, the helpful websites page. You can bookmark it. Use it as your launching point for looking for new information. Okay, because between these different resources here, you're going to find things that give you real news, real information, real insight. But that's why I use the Rare Foundation. Now let's talk about what the article, the substance of that article is. Bolsonaro addresses crowds of supporters protesting Brazil's fraudulent presidential election. We will win. We talked last night about how the FTX scandal and collapse and money laundering has caused the Ukraine war to just fall out of favor in the press. It's pretty much gone. Okay, stories are related, and I encourage people to look for the patterns, look for the connections, and we're going to do a little exercise in that here this evening. Right now, did you know, informed people that you are in my audience, and again, I don't know how many people are out there. I have to click a few different things to get there, and it doesn't matter. I'm starting this on the week of Christmas. I just felt that this is what I'm supposed to do, and we'll go ahead and get a jump on it, and just trust that just like everything else we've done with decoding the deception, it will build. Over time, it will build, and we'll just keep doing good work and being faithful. We don't get judged by results. We don't get judged by results. I'm not in charge of results. I can preach, I can proclaim, I can put the information out there, I can try to kindly and persistently get people's attention and say, hey, you need to know this stuff. But I can't own the result because I don't have control over that. And God doesn't judge us by results. We live in a result-oriented world that's run by whom? Yeah, not our Savior. It's run by the Prince of Darkness. We live in a results-oriented world. And God doesn't judge us by results. He judges us by faithfulness. He judges us by faithfulness. All we can do is be faithful. Do the work. Use all the skill and ability that He gives us. Pray for His blessing. Pray for His guidance. Pray for His direction. But we just need to be faithful. Faithful. Okay? So how many of you are out there is fine. Just a note, today on BitChute, I had 150 people click on and watch the video from last night's broadcast. So this thing will build. It just takes time to get the audience aware that, hey, every weeknight at 9 o'clock, this wackadoo is going to get on here and talk about Jesus and the news. Okay? So, did you know, informed audience, do you see how I digress and I just go over there and over there? It's just the way my brain works. Did you know that over the last month, more than a month now, the largest protests that have ever taken place on the planet on a countrywide scale, not a small country, we're talking Brazil, not Paraguay, we're talking Brazil, where in every city, the cities have literally been filled with scores, countless hosts of people. And in our mainstream media, you have heard nothing. You've heard nothing. Not a word. Why? Because if there is one thing that they do, they're best friends with them. I think they live next door and share a pool that stretches across both backyards. They and them, they control the narrative. There is no news except for places like this, Rare Foundation, the Expose, places like that. There is no news. There are mind control, thought control, crowd control operations. And they do not want a country here where in multiple states in the middle of the night, once again, ballots appeared, ballots were counted, that the legitimacy of which is most certainly in question, and the outcome of elections has been affected multiple times now in multiple elections. They don't want this populace to see what the people in Brazil are doing. They're out there in the streets in mass. And I lived in South America. You haven't seen a protest till you've seen a Latin American protest. Not a word. They don't want you to know or to see it. And just a side note, do you know what the Brazilians don't have? They don't have a Second Amendment. They're angry. They're in the streets. The most they can carry is clubs. But in this article, one of the things I like with Rare Foundation, it's relatively short. It's just got a picture of Bolsonaro talking and a little bit of information. But here they have links to other articles that they have done about this same topic. So good information. Go check it out. But this leads us into something most certainly closer to home, something that we have been hearing about. And here's one of my favorite sources for news. And they got this big black thing at the top. Don't know how to make that go away. I apologize. CNN Politics. Gotta love those guys. But anyway, appeals court asked DOJ to weigh in on whether Trump is immune in civil January 6th lawsuits. I don't care about this story. I skimmed over it. All I did was type in January 6th and a million stories popped up, and I chose this one because it is current from today. The event that happened on that date, 1/6/20, on that date, or 21, whatever it was, can't even remember, is a major psyop. And I want you to think about it in a different way. We can talk about all kinds of things in relation to it, that it's a farce, and notice, yes, he's being coy in how he describes things. Yes, there were people dressed similarly in the crowd who managed to disappear. And yes, if you look at the video footage they have of this riot at the Capitol, it looked like my 4th grade field trip to the Indiana State Capitol with kids walking through the rotunda and looking around. It was really a rowdy crowd. The whole thing is a farce, but in reality, it's a psyop. It is control. It is an intimidation exercise. They locked people up. They are still, and I saw one story, and that's actually what I was searching for when I landed on this one, but I couldn't find it. There are still being people being held in a detention center in Washington, D.C., who haven't had due process of law. They've asked to be transferred to Gitmo. And it's interesting, when you search for anything about this on any of the main search engines, you get all the fact checkers telling you this stuff isn't true. Well, it is true. I did videos on it a while back and cited references and letters written by some of those people who are stuck there. They're still, some of them are still there, like detainees at Guantanamo, but the detainees at Guantanamo get treated better. Now, what was the whole thing about? It was targeted. It was quite intentional. They knew that what they had done in the process in which people are appointed to hold political office was crooked as the day is long, and that there would be protests. And so they infiltrated the first one, jumped on it, and then crushed those people. They crushed them, and they made the example. They put their foot on their throats, and they looked at you and me and the rest of the country and said, don't you dare. Don't even think about it. And it's worked. It's worked. People are afraid to protest. Not to mention that there's just a stupor that everyone seems to be in because we're constantly entertained. And your newsfeed will always pop up silly nothing stories that you're interested in. They waste your time that way. They keep you focused on nothing. It's like the song from a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court with Bing Crosby, busy doing nothing. When you're looking at that stupid stuff on your phone, I want that song to go through your head. I'm busy doing nothing, working the whole day through, trying to find lots of things not to do. That is what your news feed is about. That's what Apple wants. That's what Google wants. That's what Facebook wants. They will feed you drivel to keep you from thinking. And it works. That, combined with the knowledge that if you stand up, if you speak out, they will crush you, they'll lock you up, they'll take away your assets, they'll throw away the key, and your family will never see you again. That's going on in these United States. And so we go from here with Brazil that you don't hear about to here, and what you do hear about is they even want to lock up a president and all this stuff. It's just sheer and utter nonsense. But anyway, it is about control. And guess what? You know what the sad thing is? It's working. It's working. Look at what happened to those who drive big rigs in the country to the north of the United States, where Justin Trudeau, who is the poster child, the activist star pupil, sometimes you can misspeak on a microphone and it's pretty bad, the star pupil of Klaus Schwab's Mein Kampf kindergarten of future tyrannical leaders. Justin Trudeau, those truckers who protested up in Canada, they don't have guns because they're not allowed to have them in Canada. They've got more moxie than people in the United States did, and they did it when it was minus 32 degrees. And what happened to them? The Canadian government used the banks to shut down their bank accounts, to take away their money, and then to grab all the money that was going to be sent to them through GoFundMe and similar such programs. They use the news, or the lack thereof. They use actual physical coercion and intimidation and tyranny, and they use finances. I don't know if you're familiar with BitChute. BitChute is where I get most of my views. The audience there, there's enough of an audience there that likes Christian content. And, you know, some people with BitChute, they go, wow, there's some wacky stuff out there. Yeah, there's wacky stuff out there. There used to be wacky stuff on YouTube. You know what? It's called free speech. Don't look at the stuff you don't like. Block it so that you don't see it from sources that you don't like. But I can say what I want on BitChute. I don't care if other people say what they want. I just don't look at it. I just don't look at it. But BitChute is based in England. The banks there have taken their money away. They literally just shut down their account and took all their money, the funding that they gather to have the ability to do what they do and run the organization. And they're apolitical. BitChute itself is apolitical. They're not conservative. They're not liberal. They just wanted a platform where people could speak their minds. They took their money away. They've been begging and screaming to people for money. The expose, also based in England, same thing. You go to the expose, you got to put up with them popping up things that say, please help us. Otherwise, we won't be here. Well, it's because there's financial tyranny and they're in danger, real danger, of being shut down. They will use whatever it takes, and they do more and more and more because why? They get away with it. They own the system. There is no justice system. It's just an injustice system. You don't get to those positions of power unless you've got a club card. And if you've got a club card, you do what you are told. But this tyranny that we see there is going to advance. It's going to advance through, and I should have popped up a story about central bank digital currencies. It's like Bitcoin that the Federal Reserve can program and say, oh, Joe, you and your family, because there are three of you, only get this much money for energy each month. And oh, you've spent enough money on firearms and ammunition. You don't get to spend any more money on that. And you won't be able to do anything about it. There will be no court of appeals. Just like the expose, the bank just basically says, no, you're not getting your money. Your views don't align with what we think organizations' views should be, so you don't get it. And the courts are ignoring it. They don't care. They will do the same thing to us. Having money, the control over money is the ultimate control, and it will keep people in line. Either that, or you can starve or exist in an internment camp. It is what they have in mind, and all you have to do is spend time looking at what the World Economic Forum talks about, and you'll say, yeah, I don't like that stuff that Matthias is saying, but it probably is coming. And yeah, I guess I've seen it already, because banks have said that they won't work with gun stores. They won't give them accounts. They won't process their transactions. Visa wants to, and they may have put it in place, Visa wants to code gun purchases in a special way so that then they can block them. Okay, we're going to move on. One more thing I want to touch on just quickly. I don't know how time goes so quickly. It just flies by when we are having fun. This is from Technocracy News and Trends. The organization is run by Patrick Wood, who puts out really good information, is a really good, solid guy. He was the partner with Anthony Sutton until Anthony Sutton passed away. But here's the headline. Clinical studies, N95 masks never worked to stop COVID virus. And you can go look that one up. I'm not putting that in the description on YouTube. They don't like such things. I'll just read the synopsis at the top, and you can go down through and again, he's going to present you with a lot of information. Okay? Don't be afraid of a lot of information. We're used to little short snippets, and that's it. And I say that, I'm not trying to be condescending to you. I'm telling you that for myself, I had to say, okay, I'll read the boring stuff and the data and what backs it up, because I have to make sure this is legit. But we've all been conditioned to want things in quick little things. And what does Facebook do now? And YouTube? They've got quick little short videos. As if watching an 8-minute video about a cute kitten is too taxing on my mind, or watching people do silly things in traffic. Now you can do it in 45 seconds, a short video. They're going to dumb us down until we don't remember where our phones are. Anyway, here's the synopsis. Fauci knew it. They all knew it from the start. Masks never worked to stop any virus, including the supposedly superior N95 mask. And I did stuff on this way back when. The social fabric of America was ripped to shreds over it, and yet they still say, wear your mask to protect others. Families were torn apart, friends separated, workers quit, businesses shut down. All of this was done by unelected, unaccountable technocrats. And yet all elected officials who went along are equally guilty. So my point with this story, I encourage you to read it. I don't like to read to people unless it's my granddaughter and it's something from Dr. Seuss. But here's the point of where I'm going with this story. It is an unfortunate reality. When it comes to Cornholio, and you know what that's code word for, the disease that was all the hullabaloo. When it comes to cornholio, nothing, not one single thing that they told us was true. Nothing. Not a single thing. And that evidence has come out, and I could just parade it. I could do a whole week of broadcasts, an hour long, 5 times, and just talk about the different data points, how everything they said about cornholio was a lie. Okay? Let that sink in and go back to where we started, or I brought it up when we started somewhere along the way on one of my rambles. I realized once I came to the knowledge that they lied to me about Pearl Harbor, and that one really got to me. You know why? I was somewhat of a military history freak. I knew this stuff. If they lied to me about that, what else did they lie to me about? What else? What else? What else is there? Okay, because there's going to be more. If you lied about something that big, and I haven't ceased finding those points of information that they have misled us on. Everything out there is a deception. Everything. But I want to apply this to something going on at this time of year right now. If everything they told us, I'll read the headline again, clinical studies, N95 masks never work to stop COVID virus. That data has been out there for a while, but there's even more data now. And the nutshell of that is even clinical professionals who know how to wear masks the right way and make sure there aren't gaps, they still didn't make any difference. They still didn't make any difference. And there are adverse health effects from wearing the things all the time. We know all that stuff. But if they lied to me about that, how am I supposed to think about flu vaccines? And I'm not just talking about whether to take them. A thought. Everybody's been lining up, going to Walgreens and Kroger and wherever else. Get your flu vaccine. It's free. If you've got insurance, come, we'll poke it in your arm from some tech at a pharmacy. What's in them? I want you to think about a few things. I want you to think about the stuff, mRNA, all the other stuff that's in the injections, the jabs that are causing all the problems that are going on in health of people who have received them. What was in those flu vaccines? What do you think? And why would you think that they were honest with you about what's in there? And also, just as part of mind control, they got everybody used to get your flu shot, get your flu shot, get your flu shot. In the weather broadcast with, and make sure to get your flu shot. That cold weather's coming in. Just standardized it, normalized it. It was the right, responsible thing to do, not just for yourself, but for the family and the whole community. They just got everybody used to it. So then when they rolled out the cornholio, they knew what everybody would do. They knew. They just line up and get it. But they didn't ask what was in it. Pattern behavior. They get you trained, they get you moving along, and they know what they're doing. They've spent trillions of dollars studying how to control what you think. And that's been done by one of the big 3-letter agencies, CIA. They've been running PSYOPs here in the United States and studying how to control people and exercising it for quite some time. All right. We are going to stop there. We've gone long enough. I hope you're enjoying this, because I sure am. This is fun. This is good stuff. Tomorrow night, might do something a little bit more biblical. We're here right up at the celebration of Christmas. Might talk about some interesting things there, but look at some Bible passages and talk about the nativity of our Lord and what all that means, because that is, teaching the Word is what I enjoy doing most. I do encourage you, give this a thumbs up, share it, tell other people, all those things that I put at the end of the video. But I encourage you, I'm trying to build a community here, and you will recall, if you're out there, I'm sure you've listened to my videos, I always say the same thing. I end saying, and this isn't the end, but this is Matthias 76, and together we are decoding the deception. I want to take that together to a new level. So I'm asking that you include prayers for this endeavor regularly in your time of prayer, and I'm inviting you to come and join us. You can do that. There's the link right there at the top, financial support. You click on that, it's going to take you to our Patreon page, and there you can sign up to give support. It's very easy to do, to give support to this organization. And quite simply, that's a way for you to join in this work. And it will allow us to do even more. There are people out there who need this information, and I'm asking you to join in making it possible to get that information to them. And we can talk more as time goes on about things we might be able to do, and when we get people supporting us doing some things just for people who are giving support at a certain level. Right now, I'm just saying, hey, give us support, join in with what we're doing. I thank you for watching. I thank you for joining in. I appreciate you being here, and I pray that what I'm doing here is a blessing for you. And this is Matthias 76, and together we are decoding the deception. God bless, and have a great day.